Everybody, to day two of the show. We had a great show this morning with Michelle Martin talking about properties from the Philippines. We talked about home mortgage. We even covered on some very special deals offered by some of our developers at this show at the Virtual Property Expo. Right up in this very special section we have today, we have Rich Baumert from 706 SF. Thank you, Rich, for joining us today for this property talk show, all the way from New York. It's great to have you here. Rich, maybe to start off, you can tell us a little bit about your experience in real estate in America.
Well, I'm a partner with a real estate development firm, doing this now for over 20 years. We have developed properties in all the major cities throughout the United States, in Boston and New York, Washington, Miami, San Francisco, and Los Angeles. And I sort of oversee the residential development portion of our business, and responsible for nearly $4 billion worth of sales over the course of the last 20 years.
Wow.
We specialize in high-end luxury development, and we've got we've established offices throughout Asia. We've got lots of great partners that work with us, and lots of happy people who have purchased apartments from us over the years.
Right. Rich, you mentioned high-end properties, right? And $20 billion. But what's the investment climate right now in America? Right? We know we've got the pandemic going on. You've got an upcoming elections in the US where, the whole world's watching, right? Is it the right time, right now?
Well, that's a great question, Gerald. I mean, I think that for people, it really depends on them and their own sort of personal risk averseness or not. There is, due to the pandemic, there's been a lot of delay in terms of the real estate market. Delay, I mean that there's been the inability to show real estate. There's certain rules that apply to go out and look at a home or look at a condominium. Some cities have been virtually shut down. Offices have been closed. So and that all took place during the spring season, the spring of this year, which is normally an incredibly busy buying and selling season. People like to know where they're going to be before the fall comes around for schools. That after the winter ends. So spring has always historically been a very, very strong selling season for the real estate market. As a result of the pandemic, things have just been pushed back, and people felt that the summer would be the time. But what we're starting to see now is it's the fall, and there's still a need for people to move. People are still looking for real estate. There's lots of excellent opportunities, but a lot of the statistics have shown that the market is as healthy as it's ever been, particularly in some of the homes that are out in suburbs.
Right. That's nice to hear. You mentioned something just now that some cities are still under lockdown, right? So I imagine that every city is a little bit different, right? It's a big place in America, right? But which cities do you currently have projects in right now?
Well, we're building a project in Boston. It's a $1.3 billion mixed-use project. It's one of the largest projects that we've ever done, and it is the largest project that the city of Boston has ever seen for a residential and commercial development. We're also in the process of entitling a project in Los Angeles. We've owned the Capitol Records building, one of the most iconic buildings in all the world. It sort of signifies Hollywood when you see that building. We've owned that building. We're in the process now of developing a plan ultimately to get city approval. So we're still a good year and a half away from construction commencement. And then the one that really is probably the crown at the moment is 706 Mission. It's a Four Seasons project. We've had this property for nearly 14 years. It's very difficult to build in the cities that I mentioned, Gerald. I mean, It's a hard thing to do, to build high density in these major cities. That's part of the reason why we like it. But the project in San Francisco that's being built and should be finished over the course of the next 2 months is without question the finest, most luxurious property we've ever done. It is going to set a new standard in the city of San Francisco. And we're really anxious for it to be completed.
Right. So you mentioned a few cities, right? Boston, Los Angeles. and of course your crown jewel in San Francisco, right? I particularly like the city. I go there every year. It's a great, charming place to live in. But how does investing in San Francisco? It's a very diverse place in America, right? You've got big cities everywhere. But how does investing in San Francisco compare to the other cities in America?
Well, a lot it depends on when you're investing for real estate in a particular city. A lot of it is dictated by the difficulty it is to actually build something or get something approved. There are certain cities throughout the U.S. have much looser development sort of zoning regulations than others. The cities that I've mentioned are pretty strict. It takes a while to get through that approval process. So what does that mean? It just means that there's less inventory. So
Right.
that you have some cities where there's constant building that is taking place. And it does, in some ways, perhaps diminish the value of the real estate. It's all about supply and demand. So when cities have limited the amount of supply, it's helped people who live in those towns. It ultimately impacts the rents that you might get as an owner, or it would certainly impact your overall appreciation because there's just not enough supply. And San Francisco is one of those cities. It is. I mean,
Right.
when I mentioned that we bought this property back in 2006 and it is now 2020.
2006. Wow.
2006. It is a long process. So it's not as if there's a building that goes up every day and that new product gets created. So therefore, it becomes an investment if you make it in a city like that has an amazing sort of brand to it. And the charm that you indicated is something it's very unique throughout the world. It's usually, at least from my opinion, it's a good bet to make when you're looking to buy something.
Right. So you keep alluding to your crown jewel. What's the name of this project that you're having in San Francisco?
So it's the Four Seasons private residences at 706 Mission.
Wow.
And yeah.
When you say Four Seasons, right? I mean, we are all familiar here with the brand Four Seasons. It's a hotel that we have here in Singapore. Is it the same one? No, I mean, is it the same brand?
Yeah. So we've had lots of experience with Four Seasons. When we developed our first Four Seasons property in San Francisco, which was the Four Seasons Hotel on Market Street. And then we did another Four Seasons branded residences and hotel in Miami, which we did in 2003. So we have a history with Four Seasons. We like them as operators. We think they are absolutely the best of the best. Their reputation throughout the globe is unrivaled. So the big difference here, though, is that this property is a standalone. So it's only one of four. There have only been four of these around the world. And it is, so when I say standalone, it does not include a hotel.
Right.
And so the amazing benefits you get, typically when you live in a building that where the residences are part of a hotel, you're sharing lots of common area. And one of the areas that you share is the porte cochere. When you have, now imagine that when you have a wedding or a banquet that 300 or 400 people that right. either starts or lets out, right. and the chaos that exists down in the porte cochere for the arrival or departure, when you're a standalone residences, you get all the benefits of being a Four Seasons property, and right. Without all of the sharing of other guests, in this case, hotel guests.
Fantastic, right? Having the Four Seasons without the crowd, right? That's what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All yourself. You keep it all to yourself.
Right. You're making me excited. Rich, do you mind sharing some pictures with us, or do you have something to share so that we can see what it looks like?
I'd be happy to. Sure. Let me share my screen.
No problem. Take your time. We all hear a lot about the Four Seasons. We have been to the Four Seasons, right? But everyone would like to see how this project will turn out. I think it's amazing.
Okay, how did I do, Gerald? Do I have my screen shared?
Yep, it's coming up. Yep, that's it.
All right, that worked.
Wow.
You do enough of these Zoom chats over the course of the last 8 months, and you start to figure out how to do it. So anyway, this is a great image, a rendering of the property. It shows that it's where its location is. If you look to the left, and if you can see my mouse, my cursor here, that is the Four Seasons Hotel. So you have great proximity within around the block to the property that we developed 20 years ago.
Right.
So that, you know, one of the nice things is too is that you have a place if for your guests to stay when they come and they want to stay in your at your home. So the unique aspect of this, which I'll get into in a second, also is that it has an incredible location. That it's located across the street from Yerba Buena Gardens, which is one of the rare green spaces that you find throughout the city. But this is a beautiful image, and also of the San Francisco Museum of Modern Art. But it shows the property, and I have to tell you that we're about 2 months away from being complete.
Right.
It looks exactly like this rendering. I can tell you, right? I'm very proud to say that. So, we talked before about the Four Seasons. This is a Four Seasons brand that has really redefined luxury. They are been doing this for more than 50 years, and they're synonymous with the highest level of service. They've got properties, hotels and residential properties all over the world. I mean, they're in 47 different countries, and they're one of the most decorated and awarded companies, hospitality companies in all the world. I mean, they have Michelin-starred restaurants, and they've been given numerous awards. They have 5 Diamond, they're Forbes 5-star, and it is just when you say Four Seasons, you know exactly what it is that you're going to get, no matter where you find them throughout the world. They really are all about catering to every detail. So you take that sort of hotel model that they have just perfected, and now they've really gone to perfect it in the residential experience, where everything is taken care of. There really is this sort of effortless way that Four Seasons delivers their service. And I think one of the most important things that we find, particularly for our international clientele, is that there's peace of mind. That there's every detail is taken care of, that even if you're not there, and so many people in this particular project, this will be their second, third, fourth home. And they're not there as a full-timer all the time. And as a result of that, having a property manager like the management team, like the Four Seasons, it's really wonderful to know that things are taken care of. And the last part about that is security. Security is paramount when you're living in a big city. Particularly, we see a lot of our international clients whose children are in college. Therefore, security becomes very, very important. It's something that we as developers take very seriously, and it's nice to see we have a like-minded partner in Four Seasons who does the same.
Right.
Matthew Hoffman has been on board now. He's a Four Seasons seasoned veteran. He's been on board now for well over a year. He came up from Los Angeles to join our team to run the property last year. So 15 months ago, he's been in San Francisco. And it's his job to really make sure that the building runs properly, and most importantly, hires the team, manages the team. But he is a wonderful person who our owners are going to be thrilled to know that that's the person who will be taking care of this property. The rest of the team that takes care of the property there's a whole crew of people. I mean, there's over 35 people. That will work in this building. From Matthew, as I mentioned, he'll have an assistant, but then you have an entire residential concierge staff. That concierge staff is on 24 hours a day. We have an amazing club, which you'll see in a second, residential attendants, and you got a whole engineering team, a security team, 24-hour-a-day valet, and then we have a bartender who is up on the club level every single night of the week. We're also doing something that no Four Seasons property around the world has ever done, and that is that we're bringing in 2 very, very important parts of San Francisco life into this project. One is art. The location of our property, we sit right in the middle of the cultural district in San Francisco. We are, as you saw in that initial slide, steps away from one of the most famous museums in the world, the San Francisco Museum of Modern Art. The Contemporary Jewish Museum is just steps in the opposite direction. There's the Future Mexican Museum. There's the African Museum. So it's become well known as the place where culture. So we thought, how cool would it be if you bring an art component into our building? So Maria DeGrande is our director of art, and she's someone who can help curate art. She can prepare a collection for you. She can ensure that the art is authentic. She's the person who went ahead and curated all the art for the public spaces throughout the building, and is just a wonderful San Franciscan and just an amazing resource to our residents. The other piece is wine. I mean, we are within 30 minutes to Sonoma and 45 minutes to Napa Valley from our location. And wine is an incredibly it's just an amazing part of the fabric of living in San Francisco, living in the Bay Area. Carrie Laz, I mean, she is what I refer to as a rock star when it comes to wine country. She knows everybody. She has access to every vineyard. She can get you on access to a vineyard where you couldn't even get on the list to buy the wine. She has the ability to get you not only on a list or access to that wine, but also opportunities to meet with the winemakers and meet with the vineyard owners. I mean, she is an incredible resource that we have. She's also has the ability to curate your wine collection, and you can join her club. I mean, so you take this wine and art piece. This is an extra layer of service that doesn't exist in any Four Seasons property around the world. I mentioned Napa, shows you how close we are. I mean, we're not only up in Napa when you look to the wine country to the north, but the proximity to Silicon Valley, which is has become such a hotbed for technology throughout the world. I mean, it's an amazingly central location for all of the wonderful things that the Bay Area has to offer. And you're only a couple hours away from Tahoe, which has got some of the greatest skiing that you can find anywhere in the world. As far as the inside the city, this is a look at the city. We're at the central location. There's lots of amazing businesses. I mean, we're right down the block from the Salesforce Tower. Facebook has an offices around the corner. I mean, this is sort of the ground zero for all of the in San Francisco. And then you're only steps away from some of the best shopping that you'll find anywhere in the city. The most iconic image of all, the Golden Gate Bridge. There's views of the Golden Gate Bridge from several of the homes that are inside our project. But the location is really, really great. I mean, it is, we've often referred to this site where the 706 Mission is as the last great development site in all of San Francisco. And when you look at where it's located, you know why. Steps away from, as I mentioned, the Arts and Culture District, and then it's just the shopping is endless all around, and being able to walk across the street from parks and green spaces, and then dining. I mean, there are more Michelin star restaurants within a blocks away than any other property throughout the city. It's just an amazing spot to be in the city. And then this is sort of just a view. It shows a little bit about where the property is in relation to this incredible green space across the street. And it's rare, you just don't see this very often. And then of course, as I talked about, here's the SF Moma, the Jewish Museum. So lots of interesting things to do, and cool places to eat, cool places to go and shop. I talk about things that are unique about our property. This is also something that's amazing. It's a private entryway. You don't see this in San Francisco. This is a beautiful entry into the property with a gorgeously landscaped wall with a water feature. This is where you'd pull in, you'd be met by the valet team, and then your car would be whisked away in one of these two vehicle lifts. 24-hour day concierge, but there's also off of 3rd Street, the ability to walk in as a pedestrian. And this is also something that's staffed 24 hours a day. Then when you pick up your car, you go down to the B1 level. It's another private, very well-appointed lobby that you pick up your car and allows you to drive out. There's 2 ways to get out. Every home has one-to-one parking in this project, which in the city of San Francisco is incredibly rare. As most cities have tried to do now, they're trying to cut back on the number of cars inside a city. We were fortunate enough, because we've had this property for quite some time, that we are able to get one parking space per home, and that does not happen. So here's a sort of a rendering view of what that experience will be like when you pull in. You're walking through your front door into a lobby that has a concierge 24 hours a day. Beautiful finishes, and now all the finishes are starting to go into the public space areas. And I can tell you, I saw this stone go in. It's exactly as it's been rendered. So this is sort of the look of what the lobby feels like, that welcomes you home every time you come in. 146 residences throughout the building. This was the original building that was built back in the 1900s. It's a historical building. It's where, this is the Aronson building. This is where Yelp and Uber, two of the most well-known companies throughout the world, got their start. So when we bought the property, they were tenants in this property, and eventually when we began construction, well, they had gotten too big anyway. It was time for them to go, but they moved out, and then we turned this into some of the coolest, amazing apartments, homes. You'll get a chance to see a little bit of what they look like. But we have penthouses above the tower, penthouses above the Aronson building, and then it all comes together on a 5th floor club. Here's the elevator lobbies, that what it feels like at the Aronson. This is that smaller building. Just beautiful finishes and very, very luxurious. As I mentioned in the introduction, nothing like this anywhere in the city of San Francisco. Apartments are very spacious in the Aronson, a darker tone, poke and pole cabinetry, all have a full height wine cellar. Bathrooms are gigantic, beautiful bathrooms with marble throughout. And then, you know, in this particular part of the Aronson, these windows are original. They've been updated, but it's the original look, and the ceiling heights are extra high in that particular part of the building. Then you go to the tower, where there's 128 homes, a lighter palette. Cabinetry is a little bit lighter here. Even the flooring is lighter, but the bathrooms are just as spacious and just as incredible. These are homes, Gerald. These are homes. These are not condominiums. These are homes.
Right.
You know, when we talk about people who downsize, we don't even say downsize. We say right size. And this is an amazing way to go if you want to live in the city. And then there's the penthouse. We are marketing right now this penthouse, the 2-story duplex, for $45 million. It really is up to the buyer. They can create any canvas. They have the blank canvas to create a masterpiece. You could even put your own plunge pool in if you wanted at 510 feet above the skyline. But this is something that you can, we've sort of rendered it, and we've come up with a few interesting plans, and I've got lots of people who are interested in doing something like this. But these are so a few more images of what that might look like with that double height space. And then how it could ultimately get finished. And one of the people that we are doing that with is Christopher Peacock. Christopher Peacock is one of the most famous cabinet makers in all the world, and you can work with him directly to create your masterpiece. And then finally, there's the club, and the club is something that is private. It's unique, just the people who live in the building, but there's lots of fun stuff to do inside the club. Places to go work out, places to go recreate, enjoy the outdoors, play some games. So you start to see that we have a fitness center. There's a club attendant who's always on the club to coordinate all the activities on the club, a golf and sports simulator, play any golf course you want throughout the world, along with a few other cool sports that if you had kids and they wanted to try it, they could play soccer or hit off a tee. The game room is something you'll see a great image of that has the ability to watch multiple games and play pool and shuffleboard. The owner's lounge is a very spacious area that allows the bartender. These doors open up onto the outdoor terrace. San Francisco climate, 12 months out of the year is totally conducive to going out and sitting outside. And on those cool nights, you have 3 fire pits that you can go outside and sit and enjoy your glass of wine out there. There's a private dining room, private event room if you want to do something on your own. And then this is a more intimate sort of private library space. But here's the bar with the bartender. Four Seasons will make your favorite drink, and if they really if it's a unique drink, they'll name that drink after you. It's one of the things that Four Seasons does, and they do that very well. So here again is the bar. You look off to the side here. That's where that private event space is. Here's the game room. I mean, how cool is this? You could watch 5 different games at one time. The people out in the Bay Area are pretty fanatical when it comes to their sports teams. I mean, I'm sure that, we have one of the most famous residents of all in San Francisco, Steph Curry, who plays for the Golden State Warriors. He's moving into our building. So I can imagine that when he's playing, all 5 screens will be one screen, and we'll be watching the game for him. But a place to play pool, also a place to play shuffleboard. This is that more intimate space, quiet space to read, or just have a private chat with your friend. And then this is really neat, right? We've got Harley Pasternak, who's one of the most celebrated trainers in all the world. Harley has TV shows. He's written books. He's the leading wellness author in the world. But he's most well known for training all the celebrities, all the Hollywood stars. The Kardashians and Ariana Grande, you name it. He's trained them all. He designed our fitness center. And this fitness center was very much designed around the idea of personal private training. And a wonderful person, terrific guy, a lot of fun, but incredibly knowledgeable. And he's designed one heck of a gym. So you'll have access to all these services, strength training, yoga, group classes, even nutritional services as well, all part of the wellness program. And then lastly is this beautifully landscaped outdoor terrace that you see how these doors sort of open up, allow the beautiful, gorgeous fresh air to come in. And that's your view from the bar. Yeah.
Wonderful.
So that's the project there. Let me stop this, and that's it. I went as quickly as I could, Gerald.
Rich, I'll be honest with you. As you started sharing the slides, I was trying to take mental notes about the key selling points, the best things about the property, but it's mind-blowing. There's too much good stuff in there, right? But I particularly recall, of course, number 30, Steph Curry. It'd be great to live near him, right? There's a wine connoisseur in-house, there's an art curator, right? So for all you guys out there, if you're trying to get your hands on a rare bottle of Screaming Eagle, buy an apartment at the Four Seasons San Francisco first, right? And then you get access to all those, exclusive vineyards, you get someone to look after your art. It's amazing, Rich, right? But I've got a question for you. You talked about the pandemic earlier. You've talked about, it's difficult to build in cities like this. What's the status of construction right now? Are we still far away? Have you started selling any units yet?
Yeah, so we've been selling units now for over a year.
Right.
But we did have a delay during the pandemic. The city of San Francisco, the state of California, shut down all construction activities for a period of 2 months. And then we had, there were a few outbreaks on site where a couple of trades, the sheetrock tradesmen got shut down. So, so we've lost time over the course of the last 5 months.
Right.
So as a result, we had hoped to open this building originally before the pandemic by the end of July. So, now we're at the end of this year. And, it might be like the first week of January, but it is, we now have a full head of steam. Once we were able to button up the building with all of the glass, the curtain wall, the crew then gets significantly smaller. So now it's just finished work. It's now just about finishing the public space, finishing these apartments, and we're getting very, very close. So we are, I have a high degree of confidence that we'll be done in the next 8 weeks.
That's nice to hear.
Yeah.
Trust me, you're not alone, right? Real estate developers around the world, are all facing similar problems, safe distancing measures, not too many workers in the same place. But it's great that you got the structure up already. You've got full height at steam. You're now doing facade works. I think it really looks like it's going to complete very soon, right? But here's the real question. The property is amazing, right? and then you've sold me, right? But is it a wise time to invest in a project in San Francisco right now?
Well, yeah, that's a great question, and we get that question being asked all the time.
Right.
But there are so few opportunities in life. Something like this doesn't come around every day, and when you build something great, something unique, something special, you sort of step away from what everything else that's out there. So this is one of the things that we've seen is that throughout the Bay Area in particular, there hasn't been this tremendous loss of wealth. If anything, you look at the stock market and you scratch your head and you say, we're in the middle of a pandemic, but yet the stock market continues to go. And a lot of the reason for that is the performance of the tech companies and how certain companies really have just done very, very well over the course of this pandemic. You think of Amazon, you think of a lot of these companies, the social media companies that have even gained more market share. So it hasn't really reduced the number of people that are out there looking. And when you see something that you really like, and when people walk through this project, they really like it, they've got to have it. So it's deeply personal, Gerald. People are, whether they're unsure or not, but I've been surprised at the lack of concern that a lot of people have relative to what's going on around the world. I mean, life does go on. We're starting to see even activity throughout the other cities that we're in. The cities are coming back to life. These cities are had shut down for a while, right? I mean, there was a period of time, and everyone would like to predict the doom of cities throughout the world, and the reality is that they've done that on multiple occasions, and all the cities have done, like after 2001, the September 11th, and then even the global financial crisis in 2010, and all that's happened is those cities just come back even stronger. So I think that people are mindful of that, and then they see something like this, something that is just so unique and so special. It sort of transcends it, and people are willing to make a commitment.
Well, yeah, economics 101, right? Inelastic demand, right? You've got fantastic location, right? And you've got a city that's got wealth in it, right? Where people, you have continuous demand for it. I'm sure some of Mogul's clients are interested in your property, right? But the question here is, we are a long, long way from there, right? A lot of us do travel to San Francisco quite often, but how difficult will it be for us to procure an apartment from 706 SF?
Well, if you would ask me that question 13 years ago, I would have said, I'm not really sure.
Right.
Today, having done this now throughout Asia since 2007, I mentioned earlier, we have offices in throughout Asia. So we have local partners that we've been working with now for over a decade, and they've made it really, I want to say really easy, but they've certainly know how to do it. We know how to do it. We have had an amazing group of owners that have bought homes from us in the past that are collecting more from us. And I attribute that to our presence throughout Asia and the importance for us. I mean, we haven't been there now for 12 months, which is a bummer. Normally I'm there 3 or 4 times a year, visiting with our partners and then visiting with owners, keeping them up to date on what's happening. So that's part of the method around having those local offices as well, is that we are constantly in touch with our ownership team. But we've been able to secure financing for people who buy internationally. And we have such incredible expertise on the ground in Asia, and also a wealth of experience of having gotten it done over the last 13 years. Everyone's different. Every single situation is different. But I can assure you that we've seen it all, and we're fully equipped to handle any situation that somebody might have, should they be interested and ultimately buy. I've already put several people under contract in Asia who, and each one of those situations has been different.
Right. Well, that's amazing to hear, because ourselves at Mogul, we've got a lot of clients who look to buy properties overseas, right? And then you see them struggling at the point when it comes to financing, right? So if you guys provide the services for them to, to go through the entire process, I think it's going to be really helpful. The customers will really appreciate it. And plus, you've got offices in Asia, right? You've got your salespeople nearby. So I think, yeah, it's amazing. Well, Rich, we're running out of time today. It's
And I want to add one more thing, Gerald, if you don't mind, on that last point you just made. In addition to that, we have people on the ground in the U.S., in this case in San Francisco. One of my key associates, she speaks Mandarin. She's from Shanghai. She's been with me for 15 years. And so she sort of looks out after everyone who has purchased internationally for us in Asia and takes care of that property here in the U.S. So, if it's an investment or even if it's a purchase for a second or third home, we have people on the ground who look after it. You get the extra layer of security with Four Seasons, but as it relates to your investment, as it relates to that piece of property, and maintaining a connection with us, the development team, we've got an incredible group of people who do that.
That's amazing. Well, Rich, second time I'm saying we're running out of time, but thank you so much for joining us today. It's always great to speak with you. And I tell you what, we'll be putting up your property on our website, right? So for the guys who are interested, go to mogul.sg, right? Look out for the Four Seasons property. We will link you up with the local team to serve you, right? And thank you guys for joining us at the Expo this morning. We'll be taking a short break and be back at 2 p.m. with Keith Chong giving you some legal advice. Good to see you, Rich. Take care.
Same here, Joe. Nice to be with you.
See you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.